The heavens trembled. The air was thick with a palpable energy, a tension that foreshadowed the arrival of something monumental. A bolt of lightning tore through the sky, illuminating the darkness with a blinding flash. It was as if the heavens themselves cried out in agony. Susanoo no Mikoto, the wild god of storms, was born. From his first breath, he was different. He was not like the other gods, serene and majestic. He was chaos and fury, a tempestuous force in the orderly realm of the gods. Susanoo was the embodiment of the storm, a being of uncontrollable energy. Where others sought harmony, he reveled in the storm. The fury of the wind and the roar of thunder were his music. Where others brought peace, he ignited conflict. Susanoo knew no calmness. His spirit was a perpetual whirlwind. This was his nature, pure and untamed, and it would lead him down a path of destruction and redemption, a path filled with challenges and trials. Susanoo's actions were often erratic and destructive, driven by a whirlwind of emotions. His anger could unleash devastating storms. He ravaged the celestial rice fields, tearing up crops and diverting rivers. His power was so great that it disrupted the natural balance. This behavior angered the other gods, who saw him as a threat to their order. The peace of the celestial realm was in jeopardy. His father, Izanagi, ruler of the high celestial plane, banished him. He could not allow his son to continue causing havoc. Susanoo was cast out, exiled from the heavens to the earthly world. His fall was a cataclysmic event marked by lightning and thunder. His heart burned with resentment and a thirst for adventure. Though banished, Susanoo would not surrender easily. He would find his own way, even if it meant challenging the very fabric of the cosmos. His indomitable spirit drove him forward. With a roar that shook the heavens, Susanoo descended to the land of mortals. His legend was just beginning. On Earth, his presence would be both a blessing and a curse, a god who would bring both destruction and renewal. The sun goddess Amaterasu, sister of Susanoo, embodied light and order. Her presence was vital to the harmony of the world, and her light was the guide for all living beings. Their personalities clashed like thunder against serenity. Amaterasu, with her calmness and wisdom, contrasted sharply with Susanoo's impulsive and rebellious nature. The tension between them was palpable, a storm about to break. Every encounter between the two siblings was a battle of wills, a struggle between order and chaos. One fateful day, Susanoo's rebellious nature led him to a devastating transgression. His uncontrolled rage was unleashed, and the balance of the world was threatened. In a fit of anger, he destroyed Amaterasu's sacred rice fields and threw a wild horse into her weaving loom. This act was not only a personal offense, but a desecration of the sacred. Amaterasu, horrified and heartbroken, retreated into a cave, plunging the world into darkness. Without her light, life on Earth began to fade, and despair spread. Crops withered, and despair gripped the hearts of men. Amaterasu's absence meant the absence of hope and life. The other gods, desperate to convince Amaterasu to come out, devised a plan. They knew that without her, the world could not survive. They hung a mirror on a sacred tree and performed a boisterous dance, hoping to lure her out with curiosity and laughter. Music and joy filled the air, a desperate attempt to restore the light. Finally, unable to resist the joyful commotion, Amaterasu peeked out from the cave. Curiosity and the desire to see what was causing such joy led her to emerge. The world was bathed in light once more. Amaterasu's emergence brought hope and life, and the earth began to heal. But the rift between the siblings remained. Although the light had returned, the relationship between Amaterasu and Susanoo was irreparably damaged. Susanoo, banished for his actions, was forced to wander the human world. His exile was a severe punishment, a chance to reflect on his actions. He carried the weight of his deeds. The memory of his sister's pain fueled his desire for redemption. In his solitude, Susanoo sought a way to atone for his mistakes and find peace. The land of Izumo trembled under the shadow of a monstrous serpent, Yamata no Orochi. With 8 heads and immense size, its body stretched across 8 valleys and 8 hills. Its eyes glowed with malevolent fire, and its breath carried the stench of death. Each head spewed venom, poisoning the land and devouring defenseless villagers. Fear gripped the hearts of men. Susanoo, drawn by the villagers' pleas, vowed to slay the beast. But even the storm god knew he needed a plan to defeat such a terrifying enemy. He approached the trembling villagers. An elderly couple, their faces etched with despair, told him of the serpent's insatiable hunger. It demanded a sacrifice, one of their 8 daughters. The next offering was imminent. A surge of righteous anger coursed through Susanoo. He would not stand for it. He would defeat the beast and save the villagers from this terror. His time for redemption had come. Susanoo devised a cunning plan. He knew that confronting Yamato no Orochi, the eight-headed serpent, head-on would be a near impossible task. The beast was known for its immense strength and ferocity, so instead of using brute force, Susanoo decided to use his wit. He ordered the villagers to prepare 8 enormous vats of sake, the strongest rice wine. The villagers worked tirelessly, knowing that their lives depended on the success of this plan. Each barrel was filled with the most potent sake they could brew. He placed each vat on a platform, a potent offering for each head of the monstrous serpent. The platforms were arranged in a circle, creating a perfect trap. Susanoo watched carefully, making sure everything was in place. Yamato no Orochi, drawn by the intoxicating aroma, arrived with a thunderous roar. The earth trembled under its weight, and the villagers hid, terrified of the colossal creature. Susanoo, however, stood his ground, confident in his plan. It dipped each of its heads into the vats, greedily gulping down the sake. The serpent, seduced by the aroma and taste of the sake, drank without pause. Susanoo watched intently, waiting for the right moment to act. The potent drink soon took effect. The serpent began to sway, its movements becoming clumsy and uncoordinated. Susanoo knew that the time to strike was near. The serpent's eyes glazed over, its movements sluggish. The creature, once an unstoppable menace, now seemed vulnerable and disoriented. Susanoo prepared for the final blow. One by one, its head slumped to the ground, overcome by the intoxicating drink. The serpent, unable to stay upright, fell into a deep sleep. Susanoo knew he wouldn't get a better opportunity than this. Susanoo, seizing the moment, unsheathed his sword. The blade gleamed under the sunlight, reflecting the determination in the hero's eyes. With a war cry, he charged towards the serpent. With lightning speed and fury, he struck. Each movement was precise and lethal, aimed at the serpent's heads. The battle was swift but intense. He severed each head, the earth staining red with the serpent's blood. The once peaceful ground was now a battlefield, littered with the remains of the beast. Susanoo, however, didn't stop. Finally, he plunged his sword into the beast's tail, splitting it open. The serpent let out one final roar before succumbing completely. Susanoo, his breath heavy, surveyed his handiwork. From within the serpent's writhing tail, he pulled out a magnificent sword, its blade glowing with a supernatural light. This sword was no ordinary weapon. It held an aura of power and mystery. It was Kusanagi no Tsurugi, the grass-cutting sword, one of the 3 sacred treasures of Japan. This sword had an ancient history and was destined to be a symbol of power and justice. It would become a symbol of his victory and the instrument of his atonement. Susanoo, sword in hand, stood tall as a hero, ready to face whatever challenges fate threw his way. With Yamato no Orochi vanquished, Susanoo returned to the heavens, bearing gifts of atonement. He presented the Kusanagi no Tsurugi to his sister Amaterasu as a gesture of peace. The sun goddess, moved by his sincerity and heroism, forgave him. The world, once shrouded in darkness, was bathed in the warmth of their reconciliation, but Susanoo's impulsive nature persisted. He yearned for adventure and freedom, far from the constraints of the celestial realm. He knew he could never truly adapt to the order and decorum of the heavens. He chose to leave, to forge his own path in the world of mortals. With a heavy heart, he bid farewell to his sister and descended once more to the world of men. He carried with him the lessons learned from his triumphs and failures. He was no longer the rash young god who had been banished. He was Susanoo, the storm god, forever changed by his experiences.